Happy New Year. I hope you and yours had a wonderful holiday season. It is now January the 2nd. Let's get back to reality, shall we? Or maybe shall we not? Reality is overrated, I believe. But thank you once again for returning to my channel, to this jazz vinyl thing of ours. You know, at times I've thought about branching out. Maybe I should do rock records. I mean, I do things like Steely Dan occasionally. But I'm a hardcore jazz guy. That's what I do. But that does sort of limit my audience. But that's okay. This is what, jazz records are sort of my life to a degree. They certainly fill up my insane apartment. But today I want to do something a little different. I want to sell you something. Generally speaking, I'm not up for sales pitches. I'm not very good at selling myself. If you notice, I have no Patreon. My good buddy, the audiophiliac Steve Gutenberg, has convinced me to occasionally make an announcement that I'm available to speak over the phone regarding vinyl or jazz or audio. And I'm down to do that, but I'm just not a great salesman. But in this episode of the Jazz Vinyl Audiophile, I want to talk to you about the links below where I am selling you things that I think are important that you should have. These are all audio accessories that I actually use and are very familiar with and are useful for a variety of different purposes. And in going through these different products, all available on Amazon, that if you buy them using the links below, I will make some money. These are all things I've used and are essential, I think, to having your records in really good shape and available to play. I am pretty fanatical about the condition of my records, about how clean they should be. I'm not very fanatical about the shape of my apartment, which is literally full of so much equipment because I review for both Stereophile magazine and Analog Planet. I'm extremely blessed to do what I do. I don't quite know how this happened. But I do want to talk to you about some of these products, and hopefully you'll find something here worthwhile. Happy New Year. First up, we have the Boundless carbon fiber anti-static stylus brush. This is for cleaning your stylus, obviously. $13.99. You can even get these cheaper if you look around, but they all essentially do the same thing. They clean your stylus very gently. Put the stylus brush under the stylus and pull it towards you very, very gently. I'm not sure if more expensive versions have a better brush. I've had all manner of these and they all work the same way. EVEO protective outer record sleeves for vinyl record crystal clear professional vinyl record storage. You get 100 outer sleeves for $22.95, which I think is a damn good price. I really like these outer sleeves because they're similar to the older sort of outer sleeves that were not clear, but could fit both single records and gatefold records. But these are crystal clear like Mylar. But I have found some of the Mylar sleeves, unless you buy expensive ones, just fall apart, rip apart in no time. They're a cheap, thin Mylar sleeve is just junk. But this sleeve sort of has both. It has the old polyethylene, I think it is, sleeves that have been available forever, long before the vinyl resurgence, and they're crystal clear. And $100 for $23 is a pretty good deal. I use these all the time. PYP 12-inch 3-ply vinyl record inner sleeves. These are rice paper inner sleeves. And really any brand of good rice paper, or I don't know what the generic plastic name is, for an inner sleeve is really, really great. The paper sleeves that come with most records, especially back in the old days, are like just Brillo pad to your vinyl. A vinyl record's a very soft material, and they easily scratch. And if you're sliding them in and out of those ancient paper sleeves, it's like skid marks all over your vinyl. So these are 50-pack 12-inch anti-static rice paper inner sleeves for $50. So they're $1 a piece. But you'll have these things forever, and they are so important for your records. And as I said, there are many brands selling these. Sleeve City sells good ones. Sleeve City has many great products, but I end up just buying stuff from Amazon like everyone else. But inner sleeves that are not paper are really, really important. But I must say, a lot of the modern reissues come with really great sleeves, which is they finally got the message. I don't know what the brand of this brush is, but you can see it there at the link. Vinyl Records Anti-Static Cleaning Record Brush. Now, the first time I saw one of these was with at an audio show, Robin Wyatt had one, and I was like, what the heck is that? Because it's so big, yet it's so gentle. It's just, I love using this record brush, and it's $10. You can press it down a little hard if you want to get the whole surface. There's a problem with cheaper belt drive turntables, even some not cheap ones. If you apply a brush too hard, the platter will slow down. That didn't happen with this big fat record brush. It's easy to use, it's easy to find, and it's so soft. This is used for card detailing, as is the next one, which is $8, is even cheaper, but this one is much, much smaller and much easier to lose, as I have. Next up, the IsoAcoustic's Zazen Series Isolation Platform, $200, which is, IsoAcoustics is a really well-known, responsible, highly thought-of company. Whatever you put your piece of equipment on, it will sound like that. If you put it on glass or marble, it will make the sound harder. If you put it on, tennis balls, it'll make it softer. If you put it on an average MDF shelf, that's one sound. So it's good to have a consistent material under your components. I don't know what's in this, but I thought it was an okay price. If you want to go much cheaper, there is the very popular now Ikea. I'll put the link there. And that's sort of the all-purpose one, because it does sound really good. John DeVore makes speakers out of bamboo, as do other people, and it's an all-wood solution. Jonathan Halpern of Tone Imports would always say wood is good, and that is entirely true under audio components. With that same thing in mind, tuneful cables, sound isolation pads, it's a combination of cork and rubber. You get 4 for $15, which is a really great price. These same products, I think you can get them at hobby shops for even cheaper. I think this is what most people start with when they're putting some sort of cushion or acoustic treatment under their components, and they definitely help. They definitely do the deed. They'll sound better than just sitting on a MDF shelf. MDF is a really horrible material. It's just pressed cardboard, basically. That's the way your component would see it. So this is a great way to start. I have a bunch of these. I also have a ton of these little 4-inch square by 1/2-inch deep mahogany blocks that I found at some building site. Solid wood. I put those under the feet of any component. They work great. If you're like me, you'll end up with a bunch of this stuff. But these rubber and cork footers for $14.95 for a pair of 4 are a great way to start. The Viborg LP32B record weight. Now, record weights, the jury's really out on record weights. I have quite a few. I'll show you the other pictures of the ones I have here. They get very, very expensive. They can be really heavy. They can be kind of light. Ideally, they're a little bit heavy. The idea is that not only do they flatten the record a little bit if you have a warped record, but they bring the vinyl into greater contact with the platter, so it's a more solid foundation for your cartridge to track upon. But in theory is one thing, in use is another. And it's almost a record-by-record basis. I found that sometimes, like the VPI Avenger Direct is made to be used with the clamp they supply or the record weight, but sometimes it can be deadening. So if you're a fanatic about stuff like this, I'd experiment with one that works in all different situations, and this one is not too bad for $26. Musicall H1 carbon fiber vinyl record cleaning brush. This is a ritual you should have every time you clean a record to get the dust off of the record. And the Musicall is only $27. It's based upon the Hunt EDA brush from the UK, which has been around for ages. It's really solid. It has 2 brushes. So the first brush sort of collects the dust, and as you roll it back to the second brush and roll it off the record, it's an easy way to get the dust off your record before playing vinyl. And the Musicall looks exactly like the Hunt EDA brush, so I'm assuming it is probably just a rebranded Hunt EDA brush. Musicall would rebrand everything and sell it as their own. Now we're getting busy. The Project VS S3 Premium Record Cleaning Machine, $800. This is the one I own. They sell another one for $500, I believe, and this thing does it all. It goes in both directions, has a strong vacuum. It's made entirely out of aluminum, as is the vacuum wand. Other companies sell a similar machine, but the vacuum wands are always made of some sort of plastic and they always break. Plus the replacement lips on the vacuum wand for the most well-known brand are expensive. The replacement lips for the Project are dirt cheap. They're like $4 or something. And this machine works like a tank. But this is a great machine. It comes with a brush. It comes with a bottle of their fluid. I don't use their fluid. I use a 95, 2.5 mixture of alcohol, photo flow, and distilled water. Even though some people think distilled water is bad and they just use tap water going through a filter. So many opinions. This is a great piece of kit, as they say, the Zero Dust Stylus Cleaner. It's a gel that you just sort of gently place the cartridge with the cueing finger lift into the gel and lift it back out. Every few months I use this. It definitely does what it's said to do. There was a particular reviewer who said this stuff would stay on the stylus and goop up your records. I believe that was proven to be incorrect. Mike Trey says this is the fine thing to use. Now, there are many different gel cleaners. This is the original one. I wouldn't buy anything else. Zero Dust is the one to get, but I use it on really dirty needles, and it's sort of essential to use once or twice a month if you play records all the time. The IsoAcoustics Aurea series audio equipment isolators, $80. These things are the best. They work great. I would try them under speakers, under any component really. They're extremely well built. Something slightly less expensive, the IsoAcoustic IsoPuck series acoustic isolators. A 2-pack are $50. That's a little bit cheaper. Probably the same thing. And this is a product that I don't have, but Steve Gutenberg and John Darko use them. The Sound Absorption Diffuse Acoustic Panel Wave wood laminated panels. 4 for $170. They look great. I've seen them at Steve's. They do the job. They look really cool. I don't have much wall space, but if I did, plus these give kind of something cool and retro about them. Then finally, the HumminGuru Ultrasonic Vinyl Record Cleaner, which is I think is around $500. No, it's $700 now. I reviewed this machine for Analog Planet. I reviewed it on my channel. This is a great ultrasonic cleaning machine. Ultrasonic does something entirely different than a vacuum cleaning machine. It essentially is something called cavitation, where it explodes these little bubbles within the grooves to loosen stuff you didn't even know was there. And for me, my records are pretty clean in general. But whenever I have an older record, a used record, first I clean on the vacuum machine. Then the HumminGuru clears away a level of audible grayness you didn't know was there until you put it through the HumminGuru machine. It looks kind of cheap, but it's not cheap. I've used this thing constantly for over a year. It works like a charm. I had a very expensive audio desk machine before that, which just stopped working, and there's no way to return those. You're just on your own. That thing was like $800, $1,000. But this works great. There are better machines like the the degritter. There's a new HumminGuru that Michael Trey reviewed for Audiophile, which I'm not sure what the bells and whistles are on that. You can probably customize the settings. You can customize how long the cleaning and drying cycles are. It also comes with a 10-inch adapter, and I believe a 7-inch adapter. And I just love this machine. It works great. It's sort of manual. When the cycle is over, you have to take the dirty water out or the water out, and it's in a little pitcher of sorts. So you're constantly seeing how dirty the water is, and then you dump the water back in the top, and it runs through the cycle again. The Autodesk machine, I never knew how dirty the water was. You couldn't see the water. So this kind of reminds you all the time how dirty the water is getting. And it's just a really great machine. $700 may seem like a lot, but if you really want super clean records that you can audibly hear a difference, this is the way to go. I'll follow up with these two very important items that everyone who owns a decent turntable should have. The Riverstone Audio Vinyl Record Gauge is the best thing I know to measure the tracking force on your tone arm and cartridge. Mike Trey, the spin doctor, pointed out to me that these cheap digital gauges you can buy off eBay or Amazon are oftentimes incorrect. And the Riverstone gauge is only $30. It works like a charm. It's very simple to use. And the great thing about it is the little tray where you set the stylus tip is at the same height as a record. I mean, if you're measuring too low or too high, that's going to affect the weight. And when we're talking about ounces and grams, all of that is really, really critical. So the Riverstone audio gauge works like a charm, and you know that it's right. as a nice little digital readout there. I was surprised I could not find on Amazon the Dr. Feichert Universal Protractor. You need a protractor to correctly align your cartridge to your tone arm. And this is extremely critical. You know, many turntables will come with a little plastic or piece of paper cartridge alignment thing, but that's not really exact. You want something that's exacting and as perfect as possible, because everything in a turntable setup is very critical. You're dealing with very small distances and weights, and it's really, really essential that you get it as close as possible. So this Hudson protractor seems to be pretty good. It's solid. It offers 2 null points there. You set your stylus tip on either null point and square up the cartridge with the grid lines. And you'll see there are 2 sets of null points. So you're kind of going back and getting those measurements as close as possible to get the cartridge as square as possible. It's also very important to have proper VTA setup, which you can sort of do by ear, and stylus rake angle, which is harder to set up. There is a device for that. I forgot what the company is called, but I tend to just eyeball that as well, or take a photo on my iPhone and blow it up. You want the stylus to be perfectly straight, like a 90-degree angle. Anyway, thank you.